Morning. Okay, so it's been about a week and I've made no progress with the boat itself, but I have been in touch with B&B Yacht Designs, who designed the boat and I got the plans from. And I sent them a photo or two photos of the damage to the bow to try and get an idea of how they thought I could proceed. And I emailed back and he said he's consulted with his colleague Graham, and they are both of the opinion that because of the position of the crack, it can be repaired with fiberglass tape. So that is going to be plan A. That's the first thing I'm going to try. Another possible repair, a plan B, would be to scarf another section of port side, bottom section, onto the rest of it. So perhaps about 3 feet back. Then the curve, the stress on that part of the wood isn't so great, and that would be a good point to put a scarf in. So I could actually scarf in a new piece 3 feet long, and I think I might just have enough wood to do that. So I'll check that today. But the plan A will be to try to mend the crack using fiberglass tape. Now, unfortunately, to do that, I'm going to need to take the boat apart. I need to lay the panel out flat on the floor again and put weight on it. So that's going to involve taking the boat apart. So that is the first step for today. So get the boat from this three-dimensional shape back to two flat butterfly panels, which I can lay flat on the floor. So potentially not as easy as it sounds. I wonder if anyone's ever done this, but I'm going to have a go. And so how I'm going to do it is I'm going to reverse the steps that I took to get it to this position. So I'm going to take out the bulkheads, I'm going to loosen the wires on the keel but leave them in, and then I'm going to start taking out the wires on the chine until I get back to about the scarf line here, and at that point they start to become quite floppy. If I go further forward with taking the wires out, they're going to get so floppy they may actually start to hang over the side of the boat and twist and put stress on the join, which I don't want to do. And they're probably going to start getting to a point where they're going to be bendy enough to get the battens back on. So I would like to get the battens screwed back on to the side panels before I finish taking all of the wires out of the chine. So for that I'm going to need some help, and my other neighbour, Ernie, has offered to come and help me in about an hour's time. So that gives me an hour to sort out what I need to do. So that's it, that's the plan. So I need to make a bit more room in here for that, and maybe get one of the cradles off as well. That's it. So I'm going to put this now onto time lapse and we'll go from there. See you later. Okay, so I've taken the cradles off, so the boat is now resting on some boxes and a toilet roll on the back on the starboard aft panel. The toilet roll is very good actually because it squashes down well, so I wish I'd thought of that earlier. I could have used 4 toilet rolls. I've got the 2 wings tied together with a bit of string to stop them flapping around too much, and I've unwired the chine all the way back to about just about where the nesting bulkheads would go, but I'm not going to go any further yet. I'm just going to wait for my neighbour to come around and give me a hand, because it's all getting very wobbly and very creaky. I'm starting to guess this is a crucial point, and I want to push further and try and do a little bit more on my own, but I think I may well regret that if I do, so I'm going to just be patient and wait. So we're at the point where we can almost get the battens on to the side panels. So the screws, I put the screws in ready, so it can be very quick. So from this side we need to get the panels just another 12 inches higher. So that would be easy to do, but it's not going to be difficult. It's going to be quite difficult to do by myself, because as I fold this up, they come up, and it's starting to come up now into the butterfly shape, and the bow is going to come up as well. But what I don't want to do is drop it and end up with the wings falling out and putting pressure on the joint at the bow and resulting in more or worse damage. So I'm just going to wait and just get that extra pair of hands, because I know they're on their way. It's just a question of waiting 15-20 minutes. So. Alright, back to time lapse. Well, as I was switching the camera off, there was a knock on the door, and that was Ernie, and so he's come in and given me a hand, and we've managed to get the boat back into its butterfly shape without any further damage, which is really good. And having a bit of a chat with Ernie, who's a very practical guy, about what we might do next. My two options, which are glassing up the crack as a repair, or failing that to scarfing a new piece kind of more than 36 inches back from the front, would be the two options. He thought glassing would be okay. I'm a bit concerned that might leave a flat spot and cause some stress elsewhere. It might make the bow not quite so symmetrical. Could be a weak spot for the future, and Ernie seems to think the same. In fact, he was quite strongly adamant that glassing up that crack wouldn't be the best solution, because fiberglass is not flexible. And so I'm tempted to agree with Ernie and go for plan B, which is the slightly longer, but I think will give the better result. So that means I'm going to basically cut a new piece, because I've got enough left over marine ply, 1/4 inch. I've got enough left over to cut a new piece, new forward section, which is going to be 44 inches long, I think it would be. And so I'm going to cut a new section 44 inches long. I'm then going to scarf that to this original piece. So we're going to have a new scarfing joint here. And that's going to be greater than 36 inches back, so that should be fine. And so the extra work involved is going to be to do the new scarf, and then I've got to cut out that join, so I'll cut through the fiberglass join and then re-glass that in again. So there's 2 pieces of fiberglass work to do, so I don't know if I'm going to do all that today. So right now, Ernie's just left, so thank you, Ernie, if you're watching this. Thanks for your help. I'm sorry I didn't get you on the video. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these wires out. There's no reason to keep the 2 hull panels connected, and it's just going to get in the way. So they're going to come out, and I'm going to store the starboard side while I work on this port side. And when I come back to, possibly, I might even do the scarfing and the glassing. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I need to use the starboard side as a template for the shape, so that when I scarf this new piece on the port side, I've still got exactly the same shape, and I can only do that by doing it exactly on top of the starboard side. So that's the plan. Let's see how that goes. But right now, it's time for a cup of tea and a sandwich, because it's lunchtime and I'm starving. So I couldn't help one final job before lunch. So I've clamped up the 2 halves together, got them off the sawhorses against the wall, got the sawhorses out, and then I've clamped up the front broken bow against a piece of 3/4 inch by 3 inch wood, just to hold it in position. Big solid batten, and then I've manhandled that now onto the floor. So probably you can't see how that looks, so I'm just going to twist this over a little bit. Hopefully you can see that now. So the plan, I have got a piece of ply, I can cut that to fit, probably put a join 40 or so inches back, and that was plan B according to B&B Yacht Designs. Ernie favours that as a plan A, and you know, he's seen the crack, and I think it looks worse in real life than it actually does on the photos, because you can see it cracked all the way down to there, and then there's a sort of secondary crack which goes to about here on this side, but on the other side it goes all the way through right down to the keel, and I don't think it's worth trying to save that. It's just hanging on by, there's only about an inch of wood, but probably even less, that's actually solid left that isn't cracked. So let's see how much of that I can get done today. Can I cut the scarves? Let's see. First job, I'm going to have some lunch now. Then the first job after lunch will be to size up and cut a new panel. Cut it 3 inches oversized so that I can put the scarf in. Cut the panel, cut the scarf. But right now it is now time for lunch.